One of the most common questions we get at Knox Studio is, what kind of questions are you going to ask people? Or if you're creating your video, what kind of questions should you ask someone in an interview? We're going to cover this. Hello everyone, it's me, Bo Shevasu with Knox Studio. We produce film for other nonprofits. We're a nonprofit ourselves. We produce videos for a very little amount of money compared to conventional standards, but this isn't a sales pitch about us. This is really about bestowing knowledge, things that we've learned from the field for the past, oh boy, how many years? Well, it's been since 2011. So you do the math depending on when you're watching this video. The content, the material is timeless. So hopefully you're watching this in 2050. The point that I want to make in this video is, it depends. And I know people can't stand it. I can't stand it when people answer a question with, well, it depends. So I'll try to give you a little bit of context as to why I say it depends on what questions you should ask the person during an interview. The first thing that I need to say is keep it conversational and listen. And I'm going to give a real world example. So let's say that here's a person, it's a little orphan girl in Mexico, and you're doing a film for this orphanage in Mexico. And you're talking, maybe there's a translator there or something, but you're talking, you're having a great conversation. You got to know her name and her favorite color, when her birthday is, all sorts of fun questions, but you're keeping it conversational, which is key. Build that relationship first so there's that rapport and that trust is there. Don't just jump right in and say, hey, tell me, how is life horrible for you? Don't do that. If you do that, I'm going to kick down the door and I'm going to hurt you, because that exploits these wonderful little children. So treat them like real people, because they are real people with real dreams, with real aspirations. So love on them. But anyway, I'll get off of my preaching soapbox there for just a moment. Wow, the sun just came out. I thought it was going to be overcast today. Seattle's always overcast. Well, this is weird. Well, there goes my professional filmmaking skills when it comes to controlling light. Back to what I was talking about. Questions that you ask. I'm just going to give a few examples that I love to ask. Well, the first question is, will you please spell your first and last name? And they spell it. And what is your title? What do you want to be down below? And they might say, oh, president of BECU, or ninth grade student. Or maybe they prefer it to just be, follower of Jesus. I've had people say that before, which I think is so cool. That's their identity, is they're a follower of Jesus. I love it. But, and I explain why they're spelling it. I'm like, it's so that later when we're editing, we can listen and we're making sure that we're spelling your name correctly. So I explain myself. I don't try to create this air of mystique and make them uncomfortable. I explain what we're doing. So that's the first question is, spell your first and last name, or what is your first and last name? Please spell it. What's your title? And then I really just like to jump in and say, what's your story? Like, tell me your story. Tell me about yourself. And this is very strategic why I ask that. I typically, in times past, I would never ask something that open-ended, because if you're a videographer, your inner self is being like, wow, they're going to talk for 5 hours and I'm going to have to edit this thing. Give them some direction. Don't be that vague. But here's why I've been loving to ask this kind of question lately. And that's because some people, and they surprise you, some people, before they show up to a film shoot, they've actually prepared something. Believe it or not, they have. Now, I'm not asking people to hyperscript or overscript things, but some people write down a list of top 5 bullet points that they want to get across. Or maybe they're used to telling their testimony and they've got it down. And if you ask them some other question like, so tell me, what's your involvement with such and such ministry? That curveball makes him go, oh, I was kind of hoping to just kind of tell my story. I've kind of have it ready. I'm prepared. And so that's why. And sometimes, maybe 50% of the time, people say, oh, well, can you give me a bit more direction on that? I don't really know what to say. And that's okay. But other times, they know what to say. They know their story. There's a bug. But they know their story, and that's okay to ask that question. So I started off with, tell me your story. If they have their story, great. They do it. And while they're talking, I'm engaging, I'm actually listening. And this is very, very key. Most videographers think of the next question to ask. And so when the person finishes answering, they just go right into asking the next question. A trivial example here is, what's your favorite sport? And the person says, oh, I like to play football. And you say, well, what's your favorite color? I like blue. So a better way of doing that is, what's your favorite sport? I like to play football. Hey, me too. I played in high school. What's your favorite position? Oh, I like to play a striker. Oh, wow. You must be fast then. Are you fast? Oh, no, I'm not that fast. But I'm very aggressive. You see what just happened there? So that's what listening is. It's engaging. It's creating a dialogue. I didn't just jump right into the next question. What's your favorite color? So listen, and that is the biggest thing that I want you to get from this video is no matter what question you do ask, listen and engage back and forth. Like I said at the very beginning, it's a conversation. You're not grilling them. This isn't a lie detector test where you're hooking someone up to a polygraph and you're just gonna grill them, question. Most journalists, that's what they do. That's what they're taught to do because they have a very limited amount of time on air. You, on the other hand, you're putting the person first. It doesn't matter how long this interview takes, whether it's 5 minutes or 30 minutes. Hopefully it's more around like maybe 10 minutes and you're in and out so that you're not taking forever. I've had some that take a really long time, but it's worth it to allow the person to dialogue with you. Other questions that I like to ask, this is one of my most favorite ones. You can steal any of these, by the way. That's why it's on video. Tell me something surprising about yourself. It really is a wonderful curveball to throw people. Because, and here's what's the strategy behind that. Tell me something surprising about yourself. Is it puts the obligation on them to surprise you. And it also gives them license to brag a little bit about themselves. Whereas if you said something like, what makes you a successful person in the church? If you're a real Christian, you're not going to answer that. You're going to be like, it's not about me. It's about serving people and serving God. You're not going to answer that question. But if you asked a church volunteer, tell me something surprising about yourself, they get to kind of brag a little bit about themselves. Now, hopefully they brag in a humble way and still give credit where credit is due, but they might say something like, well, you know, a lot of people don't know this, but I'm the first one at the church every single morning. I show up at 5:30 a.m. and I vacuum the whole sanctuary. Wow, that's really surprising. That's really cool. And you talk about that, you dialogue. So that's what can happen when you ask that magical question. Isn't that cool? Clearly, Knox Studio knows what we're talking about. We've been doing this a very long time. Other things that I love to ask people is, as you can tell, they're just in my brain because I've been doing this for so many years. Oh boy. Well, tell me, what was it like before this ministry? Or what was it like before Jesus? It's like, oh, wow. And they talk about that. And that's very key to follow up with that. What was it like when you met Jesus? Or what was it like when you met this ministry or met this nonprofit? And that's the transformation. And then lastly, you ask, what is it like now? Ooh. And so those are called the elements of the story, by the way. We're following this trajectory of balance, unbalance, quest, climax, new balance. It's a story crafting technique. But what you're doing is what was before, what happened during, and how is it now? That's all you have to do is just follow that timeline. And when you prompt them with that, you usually get a very, very good story out of that. Because then you can tie those elements together when you're editing and chopping up the story. My last question that I'd like to give you before I let you guys go, and that is, ooh, this one can be really powerful. Matter of fact, I'm gonna give you two, because this is just so much fun. What would you say to yourself 5 years ago? Wow, oh boy, this one can actually be kind of funny. Like, get your act together, kid. Other time, people can get really, really serious. They're like, don't be so distracted with your work. Find time for, your daughters. And that's kind of preaching to myself right now. I better go spend time with my family after I make this video. And then the last thing that I love to do, especially if they're Christian, is can I pray for you? And 99% of the time they say yes. Matter of fact, I'm not sure if I've even ever had someone say no. I say, can I pray for you? And if I can pray for you, what miracle can I ask for? That one also is a very, very powerful question, because that really digs down deep. Because some people's stories can be very superficial, surface level, especially if they are a nurse or a police officer or they've been in the military. Those three occupations, you are taught to give report. If you're a nurse, you know what that is. You give report. It's very factual. It's very objective. Engineers can do this too. And they just kind of keep it superficial. Like usually they love dates and times. On August 16th at 1:35 p.m., this happened. They love to do that. They find that a good way of telling a story. It's a horrible way of telling a story. It's really horrible. So if you can prompt them with a question like, what miracle can I ask for you in your life? Suddenly that just rips them out of that objective report type, strict way of giving facts. And suddenly they look inside themselves and they're like, wow, I've never really told anybody about this before, but I'm addicted to pornography and I need to kick this habit. No one knows about this and I want God to heal me from this. Something deep like that. And it's just like, wow, what an amazing answer. Wow. And of course, always get their permission. Say, hey, my job is to make you look good. If at any point in this video you don't want me to edit publish something, let me know. So there's always that trust that you never want to exploit someone for the sake of a story. Does that make sense? So put them first. So that's it. Hopefully that these smattering of questions that I personally love to ask at Knox Studio when we ourselves are producing film for charities and ministries and missionaries all over the world. We love what we do. And dare I say so, we're rather good at it. Wow, that sounds really full of myself, but we are. Look at our work. And if you don't like our work, that's okay. Like, hey, they're not good. But send us an email if you got any more questions, or you're like, hey, I got a project here. How much would it cost to fly one or two of you videographers out and bust this project out for you? Who knows? We may in fact save you a lot of money because we offset a lot of our projects using our own funds, our own fundraisers and donors. Amazing donors. Oh, also, if you want to donate to Knox Studio, find us on Patreon. We push out a lot of really cool content like this, a lot of sneaky behind the scenes type stuff that is so much fun to follow. And all you do is pledge like $10 a month, maybe $100 a month, but it's really cool. It's a ministry that's worthwhile to follow. But that's it. Sales pitch over. Go get these questions and go out, capture impact, and broadcast love.